are the media and the business world. While these institutions are not bad, they are inadequate to name our soul or entice our spirit. We are at a serious disadvantage if we take them as the bottom line of our existence, which is ironically exactly what we call the business or economic perspective. Let's presume that there was an earlier age when people had easy and natural access to their souls and openness to transcendent spirit. I am not sure that this age ever perfectly existed, any more than the Garden of Eden, where all was naked and in harmony. But if it did, it consisted of people who were either loved very well at their center, or who suffered very much around the edges. Probably both. The path of prayer and love, and the path of suffering, seem to be the two great paths of transformation. Suffering seems to get our attention, love and prayer seem to get our heart and our passion. But most of us return to the garden by a more arduous route. In his poem Four Quartets, T.S. Eliot called it the path of observance, discipline, thought, and action, the hint half guessed, the gift half understood. This ordinary path back to paradise is the blood, guts, and ecstasy of the whole biblical text, usually 3 steps forward and 2 steps backward, just like our lives. The ordinary path is a gradual awakening and an occasional quieting, a passion for and a surrendering to, a caring and a not caring at all. It is both center and circumference, and I am finally not in control of either one. But we must begin somewhere. For most of us, the beginning point is at the edges. This reality, felt and not denied, suffered and enjoyed, becomes the royal road to the center. In other words, reality itself, our reality, my limited and sometimes misinterpreted experience, still becomes the revelatory place for God. For some reason, we seem to prefer fabricated realities to the strong and sensitizing face of what is. Yet the great teachers tell us not to stay on the circumferences too long, or we will never know ourselves or God. The two knowings, in fact, seem to move forward together. This movement might also be understood as conversion, transformation, or growth in holiness. You cannot make this journey in your head alone. Actually, you cannot make it alone at all. You must be led. Less than a block from where I used to live in downtown Albuquerque, there is a sidewalk where the homeless often sit against the wall to catch the winter sun. Once I saw a fresh graffiti chalked clearly on the pavement. It touched me so profoundly that I immediately went home and wrote it in my journal. It said, "I watch how foolishly man guards his nothing, thereby keeping us out. Truly, God is hated here." I can only imagine what kind of life experience enabled this person to write in such a cutting but truthful way. I understood anew why Jesus seemed to think that the expelled ones had a head start in understanding his message. Usually they have been expelled from what was unreal anyway, the imperial systems of culture which demand in people and out people, victors and victims. In God's reign, everything belongs, even the broken and poor parts. Until we have admitted this in our own soul, we will usually perpetuate expelling systems in the outer world of politics and class. Dualistic thinking begins in the soul, and moves to the mind, and eventually moves to the streets. True prayer, however, nips the lie in the bud. It is usually experienced as tears, surrender, or forgiveness. Perhaps I can presume that this homeless person is not formally educated in theology or psychotherapy, yet through the path of suffering, and maybe prayer, this person is in touch with both essence and edges, and knows who God is. This is why St. Bonaventure